everyone. This is Jody from Bird Dog Off-Road Adventures. We also got a panel here with us here. This is our initial streaming. So thank you guys for joining us. We hope to do this at least every couple of weeks just to kind of give you guys our opinions on some topics that are going on in the off-road world, and more Bronco world, but also other things as well. So this episode, we're just going to start with our introductions of ourselves. Most of y'all already know us, but I'll go ahead and get started, and then we'll go down the road. Then we'll get everybody else. So I'm Jody, Bird Dog Off-Road Adventures. I'm living in Chicago, Illinois. Off-road experiences for me. Several years ago, I bought a 2018 Toyota 4Runner off-road premium. Built it up, 3-inch lift, 34-inch tires. Took it on lots of trips, Upper Peninsula, Moab, Ouray, so to speak. Rode it pretty good. It was a great vehicle. But, when the Bronco was announced, we decided we wanted to step up our game, so to speak, and explore new adventures and a new platform. So the Bronco we have is a 2021 Badlands. Originally with Sasquatch. Since then, we've done a lot of mods to it. We got a 3-inch Radflow coilover system, 1.5-inch body lift from McKellis Body Lift, along with many other things, steel bumpers, JCR, ADD rear bumper, RCI full skids. We recently added the RCV CV axles in the front, as well as the Icon tie rods, Rockbuster steering package. Those things we're going to forget: Anderson Composites hardtop, trail racks, roof rack, all kinds of stuff. Recently also added a awning, 270 awning from Overland Kings. But my favorite mod so far, and y'all may laugh at this, is the 38-inch Nitto trail grappler or ridge grapplers. We just got back from Kentucky. We released a video yesterday on that, and they really did really well. And with the inch body lift and the coilover lift, no rubbing. We had a little bit of tiny rubbing, that little tiny plastic piece on the end of the rear tire, but just enough just to barely touch it, not enough to hurt anything. So future plans for us, we were planning on going to Moab for Bronco Safari, but as many of you all know, there's some possible issues with that. We definitely do a lot of stuff here in the local area with Chicagoland Broncos. We may get together with some of the group members here next year and do the Rubicon Trail, but it's pretty wide open. Winter's coming up, so a lot of events are more local instead of national just because of the weather. We do Tennessee. We've been to Daniel Boone Backcountry Byway recently, Ouray, Colorado. So lots of good trails and events, and we'll continue going. Hopefully we'll have Drummond Island here soon, where we get Evan and Courtney to go with me on that. And we also have Bronco Palooza coming up for 2024. So that's a group event that Evan and Courtney, Adventures of Rogers and Henderson, myself, and several other people in the Chicagoland group did this past year. And we're going to do another one this coming year. We hope it'll be a very, very big event. So who wants to go next?
Not everybody jump at once.
Yeah.
Yes, you talk first.
All right, we'll go first. I'm Evan.
And I'm Courtney.
Hi, Evan. We are Rogers and Henderson, Adventures of Rogers and Henderson. We both have a Bronco. Mine is a 2021 base Sasquatch 2-door, and hers is a 4-door 2022 base Sasquatch also. As far as off-roading experience, this is our first off-road vehicle for both of us. I've had Jeeps, but never took them off-roading. The very first off-roading thing that we did with it, we went to the Bronco Off-Rodeo in Texas, and then day afterwards, we went across the street to Hidden Falls Adventure Park and used our new skills over there, and it's escalated quickly since then. Mods, it's not quite as extensive as the list of Jody's. I have a 3-inch coilovers on mine and 37-inch tires and beadlock wheels, and that's about it. And yours list is better than mine.
Yeah, I was told this was casual, so I didn't make any lists. You probably remember more than mine. I have a lot of lights, and
hey, all the lumens, that's important.
Wild Horses, perch collar lift.
It's wrapped.
Sticker bomb wrap is the big one.
Yeah.
That's about it.
It's fancy.
But events we try to do, we're also members of Chicagoland Broncos. We try to organize at least one trip a month to Badlands Off-Road Park, which is the closest big off-road park. All the off-road parks in Illinois are mostly side-by-side and dirt bike only. There's no full-size vehicles allowed, so we have to do some traveling to get to the good stuff. So we try to take as many members of Chicagoland Broncos as we can to the off-road park at least once a month, and because we have a lot of people who've never been off-roading and trying to get their feet wet. And Broncopalooza, so we do expect all of you to come to Broncopalooza next year. So that's your official invite, and you're expected to be there.
It is officially going to be a weekend-long event with one day set up as a car show, and then the second day will be an off-roading day. So none of that is set in stone yet, so details will be announced soon. But this year we had right around 140 Broncos, so we're pushing for 200 next year.
That's about it.
Is the off-roading portion of that, is that on the that park you were talking about?
That's an option for next year. We did have it there's a local spot that's like 15 minutes from here. It's dirt bike and side by side only during normal operating hours, but you can rent it out for private events after operating hours, and that's what we did for Broncopalooza. So, but it's not a huge park. I think it's like 50 acres or something like that. It's not huge. So if we're gonna get the kind of turnout plus that we got last year, we may do it at Badlands instead, or
Still in
Tigerton.
discussion.
Yeah, we haven't set the off-roading location in stone yet. Who wants to go
Cool.
next?
Well, hi, my name's Derek, and I'm addicted to Broncos. Oh, that's tomorrow's
Hey, man,
schedule. No, I'm Derek, and this is my wife Monica, and Bronco Adventures, and just like to have fun off-road. And the Bronco was just a breath of fresh air to the off-roading industry, so we got one, and here we are. Don't know what we're doing, but we just keep going. So it's entertaining and brings the family together. So
Off-road experience?
none. Yeah,
No.
you gotta just do it. If they say it can be done, then obviously do it. So yeah, beforehand, we off-roaded when we were going out hunting and fishing and stuff, but nothing crazy. But
No.
got the Bronco and started hitting rocks. So that's why it's so beat up now. But
Yeah.
that's okay. That's what we keep telling ourselves anyway, because it's expensive. So
Events?
that's you.
Yeah, I do most of the planning and things. We make super sales happen. I'd really like to make it to Tennessee next year. Just a long drive. We'll be at United for sure. Can't get enough of Sand Hollow.
Sand Hollow is awesome. If you
Yeah.
haven't been to Sand Hollow, you do it.
Yeah.
Not tomorrow, yesterday. Like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty much it. We got 3 little boys, and this is what we've been doing.
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I'll go next. I want to apologize for the background noise. I'm actually in between events, so I'm doing this out of my Bronco. But if you don't know me, I'm Corbin, and I run Weekends and Waypoints. Weekends and Waypoints just kind of started as a thing where I just wanted to share my off-road passion and events, installs, that kind of stuff, and it just kind of grew from there. My experience is I actually come from a Jeep family, grew up with Jeeps. I'm from New Hampshire, so kind of like backwoods style, off-roading, a lot of mud, that kind of stuff, trees. I had a TJ myself, lifted 33s, the whole 9, and that was fun. And then joined the military, traveled the country, had a few trucks, that kind of stuff. And then I was in the market for an off-road vehicle, and I wanted something fun. And it just so happens a Bronco fell in my lap. Never really a Bronco person, or ever thought I'd be in a Bronco, but I was excited to give it a try. And I love it. I don't think I'll ever go back. They're just so much fun. They're like the perfect all-around vehicle, in my opinion. and it's just kind of turned into this addiction of mine. So, I mean, my Bronco right now, it's on 37. It's gone through a few iterations, but it's on 37s currently. Front and rear bumpers from Lobo. I have some 2.5 coilovers from Full Wheel Parts. It is a Big Ben model, actually without lockers. I bought my Bronco when it was at like the peak of not being able to get Broncos. So beggars can't be choosers kind of thing. But honestly, I'm glad to have it. And it's kind of been a fun challenge, not having lockers or anything like that. Stuff is in the work, obviously, so that we can get out and have more fun adventures, you know, and the more technical stuff. But yeah, that's pretty much my Bronco at the moment. And I'm out here in Las Vegas currently. That's currently where I live. And I helped out with Sin City Broncos, 750 members currently, which is pretty awesome for a group. So if you're out in the area, come check us out. We do trail rides all the time. We also shoot for monthly trail rides. We have a little bit more to choose from out here, so it's you know, different trails every time. And yeah, I think that's about it. My next big event is SEMA next week. I'll be there. But my next big off-road event, I think, is going to be King of the Hammers out in Johnson Valley, which I'm super excited for. So that should be a pretty fun event. But yeah, that's me. That's Weekends and Waypoints, and I'm excited to be doing this podcast with you guys.
Awesome. Hey, real quick, I want to mention too is that how impressed I was seeing your video at the Rubicon Trail. You know, you did the Rubicon without lockers, which I don't know if I've ever seen a video. I'm sure it may have been done by somebody before, but I've never seen or at least heard of anybody expressly doing the Rubicon Trail without lockers. So I have to admit that was pretty impressive.
Yeah, it was definitely a challenge. It was a battle pretty much the entire time. And I have to thank my spotters. Spotters are huge, and they were definitely the ones that got me through it. But yeah, I might be one of the only Broncos to do it, especially the 6th gen at the moment. So I don't know. It was fun though.
Cool. Yeah, I missed out on Corbin. He invited me last minute, but I was already asked to lead some stuff at the Carson City event. I was like, I can't make it. Sorry, dude. I was there in spirit. But my name's Caleb. I'm on Instagram and YouTube as Popo Patty. Man, I've got a long story. I thought we were planning for 20 minutes each, so I was like practicing in front of a mirror. But shoot, where do I begin? Well, my off-roading adventures began when I was 16 years old in the jungles of Honduras. I lived in Central America growing up. My families were missionaries. And while I was down there, my dad purchased this 1979 BJ42 Land Cruiser for like $5,000. Super cheap for those things. It was a rust bucket. It barely drove, but we used it to cruise all around the mountains because everything there is off-roading. And so I learned to drive on that thing. That's what I used for my daily driver once I turned 18 and could drive down there. And then just had a blast ripping around the mountains. Pretty much no rules down there. You kind of do what you want. Everything's off-roading. It was a blast. And then after 6 years there, I moved back to the States. Came over to California, Bay Area. Didn't suit me. Came over here to where I'm at now, kind of on the border of the Sierras. And in 2018, I purchased a 1996 Jeep Cherokee. And I built that sucker from through 5 or 6 different stages of lifts, learning as I go because I didn't know anything about building an off-road rig. The Land Cruiser was stock, and we just replaced shocks on it. That was it. So just learning as I went, building it, trying an obstacle, had issues, built it better, hit the other obstacle, had issues on that one, built it better, went the next step up, and just kept going and going. I still have that XJ. I am never selling it, and I love it to death. But I started having a family, and I needed a better daily driver. I had a career job now working in law enforcement, and I wanted to just have something for the family, but something I could also go out and cruise with and go off-road and bring the kids along with me and the wife. So the Bronco came out, and I saw the advertisements. I'm like, I got to have that. It's American. It's old school and new school combined. I love it. and it was IFS, and I wanted to try IFS. So I put in a reservation on day 2, I think, when they opened up, and got my Bronco built in September of 2021. And I got it in, I think it was the end of October, no, mid-November of next year, of that same year, sorry. So November 21, I picked up my Bronco. And ever since then, I promised my wife, hey, I'm going to keep it stock. I'm just going to enjoy it for a year. That didn't happen. It's currently on 37s, bunch of modifications, AccuTune, Keen shocks, Metal Cloak parts, Bronc Buster parts, JCR parts. I'm currently installing a diabolical kit in the back of the Bronco, so I got the shirt. I just came in from that. So it's been quite the adventure. I've been loving it. It's been a blast. My family loves it. My kid, when he sees the Bronco, he starts yelling, Bronco! And he wants to get inside it and go wheeling and have fun. I started Gold Country Broncos, which has been a blast, just getting new people out, teaching them how to use the Bronco, how to respectfully enjoy the outdoors, a lot about just how to use our trails, trail etiquette, responsibility. We've adopted a trail. We currently have around 1,100 members and growing, and it's just been fantastic to see that group blow up and how excited people are to get their hands on an off-road vehicle and get out there and have fun. And I mean, here I am today talking to all these awesome people and sharing our experiences, and I'm stoked for what the future has.
Awesome. That's a great story, guys. So kind of want to open up the floor here to some of the comments as well. If anybody wants to ask questions, feel free to do so. I know something we talked about maybe addressing in this first episode was the recent news about the Bronco Safari. I know some of us, as I mentioned, I know I plan on going. I know that some of you all are either considering it or we're planning. So that's definitely some sad news to hear that they have been declined. Now, granted, it's on appeal. But, you know, that's something that I think it's, you know, us as a community, just my personal opinion, us as a community have to be more responsible. You know, I know like myself and Evan and Courtney, you know, we're very involved in the Chicagoland Broncos. Corbin, you're very involved in the Sin City, and Caleb, you were in the I can't remember the name you said, but the group that you're in out there. And I'm sure Derek and Monica, Gold Country, and Derek and Monica, I know you guys are heavily involved. But, you know, the whole Tread Lightly program, being responsible, it only takes a few bad apples to ruin it for everybody, unfortunately. And I think that's nothing new to the off-road industry. And just think if they close Moab, they can close anywhere, because Moab's probably one of the more visited places, you know, for everybody. Broncos, Jeeps, Toyotas, Land Cruisers, you name it. I mean, or Land Rovers, you name it. So anybody have any thoughts about what they've read so far?
I mean, it's really sad. It really is. But it just, like you said, a good reminder for those that are getting involved in the off-road industry, for people who have been in it for years. It doesn't matter who you are if you're in the off-road industry. The importance of learning trail etiquette, educating new people on trail etiquette, practicing it when you're out and about, when you're having fun. I know a lot of us like to go fast and do fun stuff and, you know, jump the Broncos and whatnot, and that's totally fine in the right setting. But when you're on public trails, you know, something I see over here in the Sierras a lot is I'll come around corners and I'll have people flying around these blind corners on these very public trails that are commonly traveled by a lot of people. And accidents happen. I've seen 2 people life flighted from trails. I've seen people have DUIs on the trails and go off a cliff. A lot of sad stuff, and it all contributes to these trails getting closed, and unfortunately also the loss of life.
Yeah.
One thing I haven't found an answer on. So I saw that the Bronco Safari permit was denied, but I haven't seen if the Easter Jeep Safari has got their permit approved or not.
I would assume it has. I haven't heard that either. So I don't know if they applied for it yet. I assume so, because their event's actually before the Bronco event.
Right.
So I'm not sure.
But go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, from what I've heard, that the Jeep Safari people really have their shit together. pardon my French, but that's what I've heard, that they're really heavily involved on educating their attendees and trying to make sure that they're holding the people accountable to attend. I mean, anybody can go. Just because it's not an event doesn't mean you still can't go. I think that's what we're considering doing, is just going anyway and just doing our own thing. But, but it kind of doesn't have the same feel as having all the vendors there, having Bronco Nation, all those people around, and getting to network. A lot of you guys, I can't wait to meet you all in person. Of course, Evan and Courtney and I live close together, but Corbin, Caleb, Monica, Derek, you guys are all out west, and that was one of the events, along with the Sand Hollow event, that gives us opportunity to network with all the people that we see on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. And that was kind of what I was looking forward to more than anything. I mean, the trails are a given, but yeah, it's I think Jeep Safari, from what I've heard, they're a lot more fine-tuned. Now, Bronco Safari has been going on for a while. This didn't just start here recently with the 6 gens. The first time I was in Moab, actually, I was in the 4Runner, and it happened to be during Bronco Safari. We didn't even know until after we got there, and that's when we met Vaughn Gittin Jr. and Warren Healy. And that was before any Broncos had been sold, but they had theirs because of their R&D vehicles. And we saw a ton of classic Broncos there. So I think that with the 6G coming on and that size being so much larger, I'm not sure if they anticipated. I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point, but I kind of wonder in my mind if maybe they were a little overwhelmed this last time, or didn't properly try to educate the new people.
I think a lot of that is exactly what you just said. They were probably overwhelmed by the amount of new people. And I think Tim on the chat just brought up a good point too. The Broncos bringing in a lot of new people that don't understand a lot of the basics of trail etiquette. And it's not their fault, right? They're brand new. They need people to educate them. And the rules aren't always commonly available. And it's up to the people that have these groups, that have these big events, to really drive that in through drivers' meetings and other types of information dumps on the people attending, so that they can know where to find this information, know where to find the rules, have guidelines clearly established ahead of times. They did some good stuff. They're really good on sorry, Scott's distracting me in the chat. They were really good on talking about wag bags and bringing your garbage out and that kind of stuff. But some of the basics of trail etiquette at all times wasn't necessarily practiced. Keep the Bronco behind you in your sight at all times if you're part of the group, and respect the road. Stay on the road. Don't go off the road. I know it's called off-roading, but you got to stay on the road still. Sorry. And I think drinking as well was an issue on some of the trails, not necessarily all the ones I went on, but I did hear a few people say some people got crazy on Hell's Revenge and somebody was drinking pretty heavily and they rolled a Bronco. I'm not sure if that was true or not, as I didn't see it, but one of my good friends said he was there and witnessed it. But just setting those guidelines beforehand and making sure they're followed after that.
Yeah, we weren't there. We wish we were, but we didn't make it. But like Bird Dog says, for every couple bad apples, you can't hold the whole group to that.
Yeah.
One thing that I sit and look at is, I'm sure everybody's familiar with Whistling Diesel. Great guy, awesome YouTuber. They're out there running up Hell's Revenge, a bat out of hell, trying to roll a G-Wagon or whatever it is with the Diesel brothers and stuff. But then, Broncos come to town and sure, not acting right, they get kicked out. Where's it at? Is it, money driven, or is it going to be more of an actual community base? Because if you look at it like that, Bronco people are awesome. Sure, people might screw around and make bad decisions, but look at some of the other guys going out in Moab, almost trashing the place, and they turn a blind eye.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have a great point there. I also read that they could potentially rebuttal this denial, from my understanding. So I'd be curious. I don't know what goes into that, but I'd be curious to know, how as a community we could, maybe band together to try to fight that. To maybe, I don't know if there's a way we could prove that we could, resolve those concerns that they had for the denial. So I'd be curious about that. And like someone said, tread lightly. Not just for Bronco Safari, but for everyone. I think Tread Lightly is like an awesome event. Like if you really want to learn about trail etiquette and how to take care of our trail system so that we can keep it going, you should definitely look into Tread Lightly. And I always suggest somebody that everyone goes and does at least one of their events a year just to try to give back. We use these trails every weekend. I feel like one day out of the year just to go out and try to give back isn't much to ask for. And they do a great job. They have events throughout the year all over the country, so I'm sure you'll be able to find something. But worth checking out if you guys don't know anything about Tread Lightly. It's definitely worth checking out. And I think that's a step in the right direction for people that are doing these kinds of things.
Yeah, I totally agree. And to be clarification, I did read, and I think it was on their Facebook post, the Bronco Safari group. It's my understanding, and anybody correct me if I get this wrong, but the way they said it is that they, at the time of the event, they had created, I guess, a mitigation plan that addressed all the concerns that they brought up. But apparently during the, when they sought the permit, that documentation wasn't included. And it says here, I'm looking at their Facebook page now, it says they have 30 days to appeal the decision. And my hope is that with that documentation, that the city of Moab or the county, whoever it is they're having to go through, will change their mind on that, because that, to me, it shows, okay, we're doing something about it. But like Derek said, if all of us decide just to go out there on our own, not part of an event, they don't seem to, it's not a big deal, I guess, but, to them, but this event, I think that if I was them, I would want these events because it's more controlled. If you have the organizers who are willing to put the time and effort in, you're probably going to have less shenanigans than you would if just random people are going out there on their own and just doing whatever the hell they want. That's my train of thought, and to be honest with you, I'm surprised that Ford and Jeep aren't trying to step in more, because ultimately that may affect their downstream revenue. The more trails that close, well, if there's no trails to drive on, why do you want a Jeep or a Bronco other than just to look cool? So I would be surprised if maybe Bronco Nation try to help us out in that regard. I know they just released a series of videos on off-road, basically off-road basics kind of deal. I know they've gotten 2 out so far, but there's supposed to be a series. So I'm hoping that maybe some of that stuff, I know like in our group in Chicagoland Broncos, we've posted tips for the members and put it featured on the group so that way everybody sees it. When Evan and Courtney go to Badlands, they're really good about, communicating to everybody in the group about, some of the etiquette that we do and such. But that's an off-road part. But when you're out here in the public lands, if we abuse it, we lose it. So I think it's very important for people like us, as well as these organizations, to step up and, try to curb that in any way they can.
I think a great way for people in their local areas to get involved on a local level is to do trail adoptions. Most counties, most BLM organizations locally will have trail adoption programs that allow you to take control of a trail, organize cleanups on it, perform maintenance on it, and help keep it open for everyone to use and enjoy. They also do a lot of trail education as well. We've done that with one of our local trails. We also do some stuff on the Rubicon. Our group has members that regularly go to the Rubicon and wheel there, and we help clean up and do some events. So it's pretty good way to get involved locally. So worth looking into.
Yeah, I know Tread Lightly. Some of the events here in the Midwest, like Core and the Overland, the Red Ones, they're held by the same people. They're involved in those. They have booths and stuff set up. I did reach out to them about Bronco Palooza, and they didn't respond this past year, but hopefully we can get them on board there too, because as we've all said, a lot, judging by the sales figures released by Ford and Jeep and Toyota, the Bronco's bringing in more people to this hobby than it's stealing from the other brands. Because the Jeep sales and the Toyota sales, I mean, it's kind of hard to say because of COVID and the pandemic and the supply chain shortage issues, but they haven't really lost a lot. They may have lost a little bit, but they're not like losing all the ones that the Broncos gained. So we are seeing a lot of people coming back into this hobby that otherwise may not even be familiar, or at best maybe vaguely familiar.
Scott's asking if we've checked out Blue Ridge Coalition. Has anyone heard of that? I have not.
I do follow the Blue Ribbon Coalition, that they're spearheading the legal battle against the BLM closure. Is that what he's talking about?
I'm assuming so. Maybe Scott can type it if he's still here. What is the Blue Ribbon Coalition?
It was just it's like a legal, or it's like an organization that their purpose is fighting land closure plans. So just from a filing lawsuits or submitting like documents, stuff like that.
So they kind of front the legal battle on that end for trail closures.
Yeah, so they filed. They had a huge update this morning. They filed, it's a legal term that I'm not familiar with, but it's basically like these are our statements, and then they wanted people to fill out their form. I guess a legislator from Utah filed something to essentially take away the money to implement the planned closure for Moab. So, but they want signatures to send to your elected officials. So if you go onto their website, you input your information, and it'll mail out a letter with your name to your specific government official that would be responsible for voting on funding that or not, saying that you want to keep the trails open.
Yeah, I'm reading their stuff online. It looks, just from a brief glance, pretty darn good. Blue Ribbon Coalition. That's worth checking out.
It's not just Moab that's targeted. There's so many places across the country. Sand Hollow, where we're close to, and up in northern Idaho and Washington. I mean, there's constantly all this stuff going on. Again, mainly because people go out and want to, have a good time, which I understand, but clean your mess up, take it home, pack it in, pack it out kind of deal. If anybody leaves stuff behind, pick it up. It's that simple. It keeps it open for everybody, but unfortunately, people don't.
There's a new term that my friend told me to start saying in my videos. I've started saying it. He came up with it, not me. But it's cool your ash, put out your fires, and pack your trash. So
That's awesome.
Put out your fires because California burns, and pack your trash.
I can say that my last trip to Ouray, the snow was real bad, and Black Bear Pass was not open and I don't think it's still not open. But when you go on some of the forums, and this is something we have to be mindful of too, there's people in these areas that don't want us there. And any ammunition you give them is pretty detrimental, because like the people in Telluride, because like say for Black Bear Pass, that's one of the biggest trail attractions in that area, because everybody wants to do it. They see the videos and what have you. And the people in Telluride, which is the county, San Miguel County, that trail's in. Most of the other trails are either in Ouray County or the county out that Silverton's in. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But that particular county that Telluride's in has half of Imogene, Ophir Pass, and all of Black Bear. And if you talk to like their townsfolk, their sheriffs, their city members, they're over it. They don't like Black Bear Pass because they're constantly having to go up there and get people unstuck because they don't know what they're doing, or they're breaking the rules. As this past year, I'm sure most of you all saw the video of a 5th Gen 4Runner, one of my old peeps, I guess. I didn't know that person, but they drove around even though the trail's closed and tried to go down and got stuck. And then of course they had to do a rescue. So you're seeing stuff like that is definitely not helping. I wanted to do Black Bear real bad. I had the Bronco out there. I was ready to do it. I did it in the 4Runner. I wanted to do it, but if it's not open, it's not open. As bad as we want to go, or, if there's a gate closed or something's not open, you don't go. I mean, because if you do, chances are it may never be open again. which very well may be the case out there. And this may be the case in Moab too. I mean, so those trails that got closed, it's 300 and something miles to 317 miles. Now, granted, the trails that they closed, most of them aren't the marquee trails that we all hear about on YouTube or see on YouTube. But if that's just a starting point, because if they can close those, guess what they could be targeting next? They could be targeting Poison Spider, Top of the World, some of these other more well-known trails, Metal Masher, and some of the other ones. So, I mean, that's something that we always have to make sure that we're the people that are doing those things, that we're calling them out. Because if they're breaking the rules, they're jeopardizing access for the rest of us.
Yeah, I agree. And then also on that note, if I can add to the trail closure thing, it's same lines. Like if you go on a trail and it's open, but you're on the open trail and there's an obstacle in your way, a lot of people create bypasses around the obstacle, and then they create new trail, they break new ground, they go off trail, and it destroys the trail, and eventually the government official in charge will eventually close down the trail. It happens here, unfortunately, quite a bit. But like, if there's something you can't traverse on a trail, don't blaze a new trail. Like, if you can't go through it, turn around or remove the obstacle in a legal manner. If it's something you can remove, if it's something that's supposed to be there to prevent rigs that aren't designed to get through that trail out, then leave it there and don't do the trail. I saw it the other day. I was up in the mountains, a couple months ago. I was up in the mountains, and one of my favorite trails. It's not online. You can't find it online. It's really quiet and it's secret. And only a few locals know about it. And I'm going up there, and it was still snowed in at the top. This is late summer. It still snowed in, and there was a snowbank, and people couldn't make it through the snowbank, so they went up the hill and through a bunch of trees. They cut a bunch of branches off all the trees, and they made this muddy track in this giant circle around the snowbank to get over to the other side of the trail. And it tore up the whole area right there. And that section of the trail happened to be also private property. So what happens when you piss off the private landowner that the trail goes through? Well, he's going to fight to close access through that trail.
So Corbin, what was the Rubicon like as far as trash and things left behind? Does it seem like it was pretty kept care of from everybody going out and using it, or what'd you think?
Yeah, honestly, I was extremely impressed. I don't think I saw any real trash left out on the trail at all. But to be fair, the Rubicon is heavily monitored by crews. Like, they have people that go out there and actually take care of the trail on a regular basis. If you've never been on the Rubicon or have really watched videos of it, it's a pretty used trail quite often by a lot of enthusiasts. So there's actual porta potties like every mile or so on the trail, and there's actually people's jobs. They have like this big F450 with like a pretty much a poop truck on the back of it. They go out and take care of these, and they're like rock crawling with their poop truck. It's kind of funny.
Best job ever.
Yeah, the best job ever. But I mean, honestly, that I feel like it's hard to judge. I feel like the main trails that are at risk, are the ones that don't have that, unfortunately. And honestly, those trails are kind of the hidden gems, which is unfortunate. So I think that's really where we need to pay attention to for sure.
Yeah, I'm counting on you guys to keep that trail open for me. So please do your hard work there, Caleb and Corbin.
I have good friends in the Rubicon Trail Foundation, as well as the Rubicon Springs Campground. Really, really, like the president of Rubicon Springs Campground used to be my sergeant. So, so I'm pretty well versed on what goes on behind the scenes. Like Corbin's saying, he's absolutely right. There's a ton of money that gets dumped into the Rubicon every year just to keep the county happy. And the county is very, very, very well aware of what is happening on that trail. They're in close contact with the different groups. They're always studying it and doing environmental studies and all this kind of stuff. And the trail is constantly changing because of that. And if it weren't for the efforts of all these groups, the trail would have closed in the early 2000s because they already tried to close it, and they've tried to close it since then. So it's only because of these big groups and all this money that they're putting into it that it stays open, and it's a constant battle to keep it open. So I'm very happy that we have all those things. I wish we had that for a lot of other trails, but it's a lot of money. And to answer the comment by Danger Dave 62, he does bring up a good point. It's not just the Jeeps, the Broncos, the Toyotas. The side-by-sides is also a new community that's opened up recently. And it's like I have a lot of friends that do side-by-sides. Awesome sport. But if you see some people that are doing some dumb stuff, like politely educate them. Like a lot of them are new to the field too, because that's the first time ever getting out there. Is they bought a side-by-side and now they're having a blast on the trail. Like, when you meet them and they're doing something dumb, educate them. Same with anyone else. We're all in this together. We're all in the same community, no matter what you drive, what you own. We the lady in charge of the Rubicon Trail, the county lady that runs that whole area, she did tell me, because we were working together on a project on the trail, and she was talking to me, and she said the side-by-side community has single-handedly become her main focus for the upcoming years to combat because of all the issues she's getting from them. That's just something to bear in mind.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do as well is because a lot of those are rentals. I know in some of the areas, like in Ouray and Moab, there's a lot of those are rentals. So you're talking about people who just come into town and rent those and then don't even have them to drive on like a normal basis. So one, they're not familiar with the vehicles. And two, they don't really have as much stake in it. But like when I was in Ouray, we were going up Yankee Boy Basin, and we got behind this lady and her two kids, and they were in a Razor, and we started going up the rough part of Yankee Boy Basin. She got scared, and she was wanting to back down, and she wanted us to back down too. And I'm like, no, I'll pull over to the side, but you got to go around me because I'm not backing all the way down the hill. Because her side by side, her Razor was a lot better capable vehicle than my Bronco was. And that just dawned on me as like, a lot of people who drive these aren't hardcore off-roaders. It's not the people we see in the side-by-sides at Badlands, Evan, that are over there every week, with their dirt bikes and side-by-sides. Those guys know what they're doing for the most part. I'm thinking more like in some of these more off-road towns, you have a lot more tourists who aren't familiar with etiquette, aren't familiar with how those machines work, the capability, and what to do and what not to do. That was kind of eye-opener for me when I was out in Ouray.
I mean, just like this channel's named, Dirt Therapy. You get off-road and you just forget about everything. Literally, as soon as we're on the trail, you forget about, anything that could be going on, but everything right now. Got to keep that and hopefully pass that on to the next group of people that are going to be following after us or whatever, and set that example to, have everybody pull their head out of their butt and cool their ash. That's a huge thing.
Yeah. And I would think these businesses that are renting those, it would be in their best interest to educate those people, because if they get that trail banned or get trails banned in those areas, they're not going to have a business anymore because nobody's going to be able to drive those. Or the towns are going to outlaw side-by-sides. There's some areas that do that, they have off-road that's available to Jeeps and Broncos and Toyotas, but they won't let side-by-sides on public roads. So that's the risk they face.
There again, on the flip side of this, you go out on side-by-side trails and enjoying that. All of a sudden down the trail, you see a full-size rig that cut the gate. Mind those rules too. We don't belong on those, but side-by-sides do. We see that quite often in our area.
Stay off the snowmobile trails during the winter.
Yeah.
That's the one thing they do allow in Illinois is they have snowmobile trails all throughout. I mean, we're in the middle of cornfields here, so through all the cornfields that are all harvested, people set up snowmobile trails. And I mean, we've seen people with a beater 4x4 just flying through and it's actually, we've had people die on those snowmobile trails because of stuff like that.
preventable.
Does anyone in the comments have any questions? Scott talking a lot. Good job, Scott. I want to wheel with 5. Am I saying it right? 512? Is it 512? 512 Raptor? Yeah. I couldn't remember the order of the numbers.
Once you meet Scott, he's awesome online, don't get me wrong, but in person, just a genuine guy.
So we did wheel. I wheeled with him before I knew him. So him and I, and Scott, if you're listening, him and I met when we went on the Bronco Nation run at Bronco Safari, and we were going up, I think it was Poison Spider, and you saw the picture where in the Bronco Nation video where he did like this with his Bronco. So I was in front of him, and there was an easy line and a hard line. And a couple of us, including Scott and myself, took the hard line, and we went up, and I did the thing like first round, woo, and it went through, and then he came up behind me, and he did like an even crazier one, like showing off, and did a really fun job. And came up.
Raptor.
Yeah, I know. He's doing Raptor stuff.
Yeah.
And the notch. And I was like, dang, he's crazy. And so I saw him post it on Instagram. I saw his Instagram popped up in my feed as a recommended. So I started following him, and then I posted a little like, hey, I did it too, like a little thing. And he saw it, and then we met like the next day at the campgrounds. He was like, oh, you're that guy. I'm like, yeah. He's like, were you making fun of me? I'm like, no, man, I thought it was awesome. So
I met Scott. He would not rock crawl that Bronco.
He was nervous.
Yeah.
It was brand new. I mean, rooftop 10. That's all that it was.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, let's go. And he reluctantly, but he did it. He first scratch on it was my bad ideas, but it was awesome.
There's only a few people I know that really run their Raptors hard, and he's one of them. So that's good.
Yeah.
Was that the one where Jordan from Bronco Nation had to like put his hands up on the roof?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
Jordan not to do that. We were like, no, stop, no. But yeah, for those watching, never brace a car with your body. You're not strong enough.
Bad idea.
But it is okay to have a friend sit on your rock sliders, right, Evan? To keep
We
you
were
from going
perfectly safe, and it was on private property.
over. Yeah, there you go.
I blame Bronco. Thanks, Scott.
Awesome.
Awesome. Scott said, hopefully. Oh, when are we getting together and wheeling? Hey, I'm going to start something. I already did it with Pew Pew Kachu, and hopefully we can get him on this this live someday too. But we coined a term. It's called Insta Landing. All right. So stay tuned for an Insta Landing event coming your way.
It's too bad Bronco Safari and United by Bronco aren't like back to back, because for like Evan and Courtney and myself, we could just like kill two birds with one stone. So, because that's a 3-day drive for United by Bronco, because that's what, additional 9 hours past NOLA.
Yeah. Yeah, we're hoping to get out your guys' way in this coming year. We're building the early Bronco to be more of a driver, so we're gonna try to make it across that way. Well, we'll see what happens. No guarantees, but figure it out.
Yeah, the Silver Lake Sand Dunes event's a pretty good one. If that's something y'all want to do, I know there's dunes out in California, but and the ones in Silver Lake, Michigan, every August the Bronco Takeover. I think they had 300 vehicles there this past year. It's pretty fun. That's a good excuse to come this way. Of course, we always have Drummond Island too. So I know Evan and I and Courtney and we're all itching to hit that one.
Plus, they
Yeah, I'd
already
love to come
committed
up there,
to
too.
Bronco Palooza.
Yeah, don't forget Bronco Palooza. That's the marquee event of the Midwest.
Batman Day.
Well, and Corbin, we got to get down your way too. Walter on one of our live deals on Instagram, he's got a SEMA Bronco. I know he off-roads it, but he said that he could put us in some places to make us squeal, and if he can do that, I owe him dinner. So
Yeah. Hey, well, come on down and I'll join you guys too. So.
perfect.
Yeah.
I'll be down your way, Corbin, in December. I'm doing the Mojave Trail. So,
Oh, awesome. Yeah, well,
I
we'll
think
have to see
that's
if we can make
in
something
the
happen.
general area, right?
Yeah, it's about sections of it starts about 45 minutes from here. So I can get onto the Mojave pretty quick if I wanted to.
Awesome.
Cool.
But
Awesome.
yeah, I guess as this starts to come to an end, I guess we should at least talk about what we're trying to turn this channel into, right? So, I mean, this is just a group of us hanging out, talking about what we love, kind of like what we were just doing. And hopefully we'd bring on some more guests soon, too. Bronco related or not, I think it'd be pretty cool to have some guests on here in the coming shows that we put on. So,
I nominate Scott.
yeah.
You're here.
Second that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's official. All right.
Scott, you're
Yeah,
on.
there you go. And just one quick note too, it's very important, people. If y'all want to make sure you don't miss one of these, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and also hit that notification button, because we're all very busy. We all have channels, we all have full-time jobs. So sometimes we may not be able to keep a set rhythm as far as our goal is to try to do this every 2 weeks, but depending on schedules, holidays, whatever, events, we may have to fluctuate that a little bit. If you hit that notification, you'll get a notification every time we have something scheduled. Also follow us on Instagram, Dirt Therapy Live as well on there. And we can definitely want to keep you guys informed when we're all coming together, because this is a really great group of people. There's lots of stuff we can talk about. You guys can answer questions like Corbin was saying. We'll have guests on from time to time. So it'll be definitely something I think that most people would enjoy.
We don't know what we're doing, but we're doing it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right.
I'm going to make it a point. I said I'm going to make it a point and be on the couch for the next one.
No, don't do that.
Yeah, that's what we should.
Legitimately, when we moved, we left our couch at our other house. And it's not because the trailer was full and I couldn't actually take it. It was just we, got off of it permanently.
But did you get a new couch?
Stand around, but that's okay.
My kiddo's starting to cry. Get some attention.
All right, guys. Well, unless anybody else has something to say, we'll go ahead and wrap up.
Who
And
wants to say hello?
yeah, bring on up our first guest.
There you go. Say hi.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye, everyone.
Have a good night.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye.